Well, a one-day international that had plenty of event and incident in it. Eventually, it goes the home side's way. India have started the ODI leg of this tour with a winning note. They didn't do that in the tests or the T20Is, but a 66-run win is what they've scripted. Their debutants shine. Krunal Pandya with bat, Prasidh Krishna with ball, and they have Shikhar Dhawan and Shardul Thakur to thank as well. We look back at all of it on ESPN Cricket for Matchday, powered by Realme X7 5G, X7 Pro 5G. Ian Bell in just a minute. Before that, Sanjay Manjrekar. That was a fun game of ODI cricket to watch. It had the ebbs and flows of the good old one-day cricket, Sanjay.
And a very good win for India, a win that they should be proud of. They were not chasing, which has become kind of a winning guarantee these days in our conditions because of the dew factor. But this is how you win. If you bat first in these conditions, you get a score like India got when they batted first to make it really difficult for England to get there. But, the way they started off, and that's why, you got a glimpse of how good England is as a one-day outfit as well. The Indian fans don't see England as a team enough. And it's been a while since we've seen their white ball team. We saw them in the World Cup, sure. That gave you a bit of a glimpse about how dangerous it can be.
Yeah, they went from 135 without loss to 176 for 5. So I guess that's the big talking point now, Ian. It looked like that they were in cruise control. They could have muscled this target down, maybe gunned it down in inside 40, 45 overs, and then they just lost a heap of wickets in the middle. Take me through that phase.
Yeah, well, firstly, I think the Indian bowlers have to take a lot of credit. I thought the resilience they've shown. I mean, again, Bairstow was on absolute fire, wasn't he? That first power play, certainly Bairstow and Roy, that was pretty aggressive. So I think they came back from that really well. I think, I think England will have a bit of a look at that. I think from certainly Bairstow's point of view, he played absolutely brilliantly. I would have loved him, again, just to sometimes drop a gear and just milk that for a little bit of time, build a partnership and then go again. And maybe that's where a little area where actually Joe Root, again, is sort of like the foundation and the solidarity to the team is at number 3. He just goes about his business in a very quiet way and allows the stroke players to play around him. And generally he's there at the death. So they'll be really disappointed. There's no doubt. The platform they got, I thought, again, India had a good score on the board, but England did everything they had, actually wrestled the momentum back for the batting. Certainly that first 15, 20 overs, they were in a great position. And then they just, they couldn't get back that momentum in the middle. And credit to India, I thought they were resilient in that department.
The value of wickets, Sanjay, we talk about it so often, it almost becomes like a broken record. But we see it again today. 2 bowlers who've gone at over 6 and over, but the 7 wickets between them, they've taken effectively broke the back of the England chase. Let's go one by one. Let's start with Shardul Thakur, because this is a continuation of a trend that we're seeing from Australia to the T20Is to the ODIs now, where he's just proving to be this golden arm that gets wickets.
Yes, a bit lucky with the first one of Johnny Bairstow, concede that. But then you saw him get Morgan out with the way, he surprised him with the short ball. So as we've said before as well, this is why you need Shardul Thakur in this outfit. His economy rate is a bit, his overall one-day international economy rate is not great. And again, today you see the economy rate is high. But he did what Chahal and Kuldeep would do for India a couple of years back. He got wickets in the middle and thereby making India's job that much easier. When you watch him bowl and you compare him with somebody like a Prasidh Krishna, who also impressed today in some ways, you can see the trickery that Shardul Thakur has as a white ball bowler. Obviously, he surprised all of us with how well he bowled in Test match cricket. But this is a guy who's technically very sound, and that is something that Glenn McGrath told us why he's able to control all his variations and do exactly what he wants, is because technically as a fast bowler he's very good and he's able to then bowl as per his wishes almost, and that came to the fore again today. And this is not somebody who has a wicket-taking knack or a wicket-taking luck. This is a guy who is pretty, wily seam bowler.
That's interesting that you say that, Ian. You look at the way he gets his wickets, you'll find a lot of batsmen taking him on and perishing. With Bairstow, with Morgan, yes, he got Butler, differently. But it does look like batsmen will fancy themselves against the bowler like Shardul Thakur. Is there just something about him where you feel, I can take this guy on, and eventually you end up giving him a lot of wickets?
Yeah, possibly a bit of that. I think, again, he's a little bit shorter, isn't he, than some of the others. So he just gets on you a little bit, a bit skiddier, a bit quicker. That's certainly what it looked like with Butler's dismissal. It just was on him a bit quicker. He's obviously got a fantastic change of pace. We saw that through the T20. That slower ball off cutter is a really good skill. But again, it's a great habit, isn't it? Natural wicket taker. He just finds ways. Yes, and they're not always absolute Jaffers, top of off stump, but, you know, he's a good bit of a golden arm. And as we know, and we've talked about there, you know, getting wickets through the middle overs in 50 over cricket is so important. Finding someone, he's managed to do that now, also in the T20s. So, yeah, he's a wicket machine at the moment through this white ball period.
Does he remind you guys of anyone? Yes, Sanjay.
You make an excellent point about batsmen sort of taking him for granted a little bit, underestimating him. And Ian Bell, you know, what he said, let's not take that lightly. Sometimes you look at a bowler, and when you look at Shardul Thakur, he doesn't look like a dangerous fast bowler. And you fancy yourself as a batsman against these kind of bowlers. He's not somebody who's going to light up the speed gun with balls of 145 and 150. Bowls in the 130. Something we noticed in Australia, they would just come in, amble, and bowl simply, and the speed gun show 135. So the technique comes into play here again, and it's the package. When you see Shardul Thakur, he's not going to send fear down your spine. And he's a good bowler. He bowls good balls. He has a very street smart cricketing brain in white ball cricket as well as in test matches. But more importantly, I think batsmen just take him a little lightly, and slowly and surely, I think that's going to change, and they'll start respecting him a lot more because he deserves that for what he does.
Does he remind you of anyone, Sanjay? I was listening to Ajit Agarkar describing the uncanny ability to get wickets on commentary, and I couldn't help but feel the slight resemblance.
Ajit Agarkar, yeah, okay, you want me to mention Ajit Agarkar as one
You
who
can
had
mention who you want.
No, you're quite right. He also had those wicket-taking deliveries, but Ajit Agarkar was somebody who, you know, as a batsman, I played him as well. You were sort of wary of him with his quick deliveries that were full, and the short ball as well that was quick. He didn't look the part, you know, he didn't look like a big burly fast bowler. But Manoj Prabhakar is somebody that comes to mind, who's an excellent bowler for India, somewhat in the same package like Shardul Thakur is, but had all the skills. Shardul Thakur is a little more gifted than Manoj Prabhakar, but yeah, guys who sort of mislead you into believing these are the ones to go after.
Yeah, I've even heard cricketers of the 70s describe Ian Botham in his early days, Ian, of someone who used to just get wickets, not necessarily of great deliveries, but he had a skill set, and at times that's just how you get your wickets. You don't need your best balls to always get you wickets. There's something about these kind of guys that they just end up getting wickets.
Yeah, absolutely. And Ben Stokes, to be fair, can be a little bit like that. You know, he can bowl some really good deliveries, but also he gets wicket with some, as he did today. His first one for Rohit today was a really poor delivery. So he's a bit of a golden arm for England, very much like that. And they're the kind of guys you want in your team, aren't they? You know, that find ways of getting wickets when things go a little bit flat as well, and your team need them most.
See, we shouldn't just be saying that these are bowlers who are lucky to get wickets on bad ball. These are guys who make the batsman a little, careless sometimes. They're always letting the batsman to think. Ben Stokes got that wicket. Ian is right. It was a loose delivery. He was lucky to get that wicket. But look at the wicket of Hardik Pandya that he got later with the first slip in position. There was a leg cut on short field. Now, which other bowler in world cricket would be looking to do something like that? So, these are guys who create wickets. Ian Botham, Ben Stokes, Shardul Thakur, not quite in that category. He does his things, and the batsmen sort of, underestimate him perhaps. But Ben Stokes, Ian Botham, really the kind of bowlers who make things happen out of nowhere when there's nothing for them in the pitch or in the conditions.
All right. What about Prasidh Krishna on debut? Ian, what do you make of him?
Well, it was certainly a baptism, wasn't it? Their first few overs with Bairstow and Roy at full tilt. So I think, again, all you can judge people is how they come back, don't you? I mean, you're not going to be perfect all the time. And it was, Bairstow was, they were always going to go hard in the power play. But to come back and do what he did and finish with those figures, I think says a lot about his character as well. So I thought it's an impressive debut, really. Again, on a pitch that looked a good pitch for batting. Ball was travelling. Again, a difficult start, but again, character to come back in the second, third spell and to get 4 wickets, I think is a brilliant first outing for India.
Sanjay?
Yeah, first thing, I was pleasantly surprised and impressed by the speed that he generated. He just ambled, and we've seen his bowling action is a nice, easy action, nice high arm release, and he was releasing balls at 145 kilometers per hour, which was interesting to see because that's something we didn't see in the IPL. Having said that, I think his stock length is short of length when he has to bowl the ball right up. It's more of a release ball, which is sort of risky on flat pitches with batsmen like Bairstow. It's a good thing that he was bowling with India, getting 317 runs on the board, so Virat Kohli could keep going back to him. And I love the way he bounced back. And when he bounced back, you can see the body language had changed. But I look at him as a talented bowler. He's got the basics right, but at the moment, very reliant on the surface that has to bowl on, and maybe not as many trickery in bowling. The trickery that you need to survive in white ball cricket, in T20 cricket. He's not quite there yet, but good signs so far.
Yeah, it's interesting you to say that you'll both describe the ability to come back. Now, this format will always come under some scrutiny when it's played in between T20s and tests about the future of ODI cricket. But you think of Prasidh Krishna, who gets hit for 22 in his sixth over. He's gone 3 overs for 37. In a T20, you think he's not going to bowl again, right? The captain's going to look for another over. The ODI game somehow just gives you the chance to come back. And I'm a bit of a sucker for the format. I don't know if the two of you are as well. Ian, you played a lot of ODI cricket. This is something we'll get to see pretty much only in this version of the white ball game.
Yeah, as well, I think credit to Kohli as well for giving a young player, again, the opportunity to come back. Again, he turned to him again to get a wicket. He did that, got 2 wickets. So, again, I think it's good for India that their young players at the moment, again, exposed in quite big situations in games. It's only good for the future, whether that's a T20 down the line or a 50-over World Cup in a few years' time. I think it's good to be exposed to that. And again, Bairstow and Roy are as aggressive opening partnership as in world cricket at the moment. So to come through that and finish up on the winning side and 4 wickets, I think it's a really good thing for a young player to get the opportunity. But credit against Kohli for giving him the opportunity to come back and put it right.
It's actually been a pretty good one.
Very good point about comebacks in white ball cricket, because T20, as you said, is a ruthless format, and it's a good point that you raised. And we saw that with KL Rahul too. The kind of start that he had today, he wouldn't have he would have destroyed a T20 game because he had a slow start. But there's just enough time for people to have a second wind, as they say. And we saw that with KL Rahul. We saw that with Prasidh Krishna. And Virat Kohli, to be fair, had to go to Prasidh Krishna because we were all surprised, weren't we, that Hardik Pandya didn't bowl at all. I guess he wasn't supposed to bowl at all.
Okay, there was this sort of game. It actually was a really good one-day game, wasn't it? Both teams had their moments. It looked like India, played the finer moments or had more important wins and sort of played those moments better. If you had to pick a man of the match, I'm curious to know in a 317 game whether it was Dhawan with the foundation, Krunal Pandya, Rahul, or was it Shardul Thakur with those 3 wickets? Who had the most impactful tell on this day? Sanjay?
Ronak, if you know me, you should be able to guess.
Shardul Thakur?
Yes.
All right. Ian?
I'm going to go for, again, I think India was stalling a little bit at the back end. I think Pandya changed the momentum of the game quite dramatically. I think, again, 280 wouldn't have been enough. 290 might not have been enough. And England probably played a little bit different. I think he managed to find a way of turning that score into 318. I think it was incredible batting on debut. Obviously had a bit to hand with the ball again. Probably didn't go to absolute plan for him with the ball. But that batting, I think, turned India's score into a lot more pressure for England. Changed the momentum, really.
It's a fair point, and it continues a bit of a conversation on how India continue to produce impactful internationals almost instantly now, Sanjay. Prasidh Krishna with ball, Krunal Pandya with bat. It's a nice theme that's carried on from the tour of Australia.
As I said before the show as well, these are exciting times where you're seeing all those guys that you've sort of bred into international cricket come and play as if they belong there, and they've been there for a number of years. Krunal Pandya, with his batting, with his bowling, he's always been that kind of a bowler. I've always looked at him more as a batting all-rounder, and when I had a little chat with him, I urged him to focus more on batting because his bowling is somewhat limited, and what happened today could happen to him on occasions. This is what Indian cricket is at the moment. Having said all that, my focus was on another talent that had come to the fore a few years back, but getting lost somewhere, Ronak, and that's Kuldeep Yadav. And
Yeah.
I think it's critical for Indian team management to nurture Kuldeep Yadav with care, because you can see that the current cricketing scenario with the three formats is starting to take its toll on him. He's starting to become a different bowler. It's very important that he must stick to his strengths and his rare talent. Because we see all these talents that are coming through, but these are talents that you see because of the kind of system that we have. The Ishan Kishan, the Surya Kumar Yadav. Kuldeep Yadav is somebody who's out of the box. And if you look after him well, he's going to serve you longer, and his rewards will be richer. He's got to be just taken care of. I saw a completely different Kuldeep Yadav today, and sometimes I just worry about where his career is going, Ronak.
That's interesting. So maybe if you could go deeper into that, you think that on a day when he's got 317 to defend, would be, you'd say, the best to Kuldeep Yadav. We can bowl attackingly. He's ended 9 overs for 68. We often say, oh, Kuldeep Yadav doesn't quite have the pace. That's why he's second to other spinners, whether in the IPL or other places. What did you observe today that was different? We don't get to see a lot of Kuldeep Yadav in T20 cricket or in other formats. But from what you saw today, what was different that concerns you, Sanjay?
See, I think finally it's got to him where he realizes what he needs to do. So he's basically conforming to the needs of modern day cricket. People wanted him to bowl quicker, and we saw Kuldeep Yadav bowl very quickly today. He bowled mostly in the mid 80s. There was just one ball that was 70 kilometers per hour. Earlier, there used to be many balls in the 70 kilometers per hour. He bowled 109 kilometers per hour delivery as well. He's bowling that flipper, which were two high full tosses on a couple of occasions. So he's trying to change. He's trying to become something that he's not. In the process, this was the first time I've seen Kuldeep Yadav lose accuracy. He started off bowling to almost sort of rank short deliveries, and I've never seen him not being accurate. And one final point about him, very critical as well, is there was just one ball that he bowled, which was outside the off stump to a batsman. To the right-hander, he focused on the middle and leg stump line, which is the line of a bowler who is slightly defensive, worried about getting hit for fours and sixes. Whether that was the brief, I don't know. But the change of line and the pace and the loss of accuracy tells me that there's few things going wrong with Kuldeep Yadav.
Okay. Ian, anything on that? He's a rare commodity, left-arm wrist spinner. Seems to have had this slightly inexplicable and steep decline from what he was a few years back.
Yeah, I think a bit, but I mean, I don't think it was an easy day for spin in general, was it? Most of the spinners have gone for over a run of ball, haven't they? Rashid was exactly the same for England today. I think actually a little combination. I think Bairstow actually seems like sometimes you just have matchups. Bairstow, I think, fancies he can take him down. So you see that, and that's not an easy place to be either when you get into the game and a batter who's going to be aggressive. Actually, again, I think there was a game at Edgbaston in the World Cup where Roy and Bairstow played particularly well and probably really hurt him there. So there's probably a little bit of hang-ups there where England quite maybe feel they can get after him, and he's got those little bit of baggage from that. But also he's been around, hasn't he, in the bubble. He hasn't played lots of cricket. Yes, he's bowled in the nets and he's played one game. And I mean, again, I've never bowled wrist spin, but I imagine bowling wrist spin is particularly hard, and you get better by bowling over after over in the middle. So I do hope India play him in all three games and just allow him to get out and play. There's no doubt having a wrist spinner and a Chinaman bowler, it's an asset to have if he's bowling well. And again, the more he bowls and gets better, and he's obviously got a big IPL, hasn't he, coming up that he wants to compete and do well in. But hopefully India will stick with him as they did with KL Rahul through the T20s and this as well. Give him an opportunity to get overs under his belt in the middle. As you said, we want to see him playing his best cricket, not going the wrong way. But I think there's a bit of a combination between England, certainly Bairstow, I think, feels he can get hold of him, and a guy that hasn't played a lot of cricket.
Quick final point. It's not so much about him, playing matches and getting back into form. I just hope he's taking the right lessons on board. If he starts bowling middle and leg to right-handers, Kuldeep Yadav's great strength is gone as a wicket taker when he was bowling outside the off stump. So the line that he started bowling makes him half the bowler. He becomes half the wicket taker. And Kuldeep Yadav will never in his life become that white ball bowler who's only there to keep the runs down. He's a game changer who will be getting wickets for you. And if he bowls that middle and leg line, he's not going to be the wicket taker that he used to be. So more than the speed, I'm just worried with the line that he bowled right through that match.
It's a really interesting thing, isn't it, about speed of spinners? Because I know that in England with Monty Panesar, who used to bowl naturally quite fast, and there was a lot of talk about him trying to bowl slower. And the slower he tried to bowl, the worse he became. So I'm always like, a lot of spinners have their natural pace, don't they? And when you're trying to do something that doesn't quite natural, yes, we've all got to improve and try and get better. But I always remember that with Monty was the fact that his natural pace was quite quick. And sometimes in England that didn't work. But when we were in India, it did, or the subcontinent. When he tried to adjust and bowl slower and listening to a lot of people away and trying to adjust, it didn't work for him. And I think listening to him now, he wishes he stuck to one thing. So I think that certain spinners do have their natural pace, don't they? It's very hard to adjust.
Great point that, and it's a great comparison, isn't it? It's the exact opposite. Panesar wanted to get slower, and Kuldeep wants to get quicker. But it's very important to sort of be, the best that you can be.
Okay, this is very interesting, and you can't help but think that it's all a mix of things. You can't help but feel for Kuldeep Yadav. It seems to have not quite gone his way ever since that 2019 World Cup. He bowled a few gifts to his KKR captain now, Owen Morgan. So we'll see how things go for Kuldeep Yadav beyond just this ODI series. But after this first ODI, Belly, just as we wrap things up and look back on England, what would be the most sort of immediate addressing point here? Would it be we shouldn't have let India get to 300 plus after we had 5 down? We had Hardik Pandya out quite soon, or was it more sort of after the platform that we had? We should have been able to see this. What's the immediate area of concern after this ODI for you?
A bit of both. I think through the T20, finishing off the overs as well, I think was a bit of a concern in the T20s, and we've seen that today again. Very reliant on going heavy length and short rather than maybe going more Yorkers and full and straight. So that will have to be something to think about. I think, again, going with the batting as well, the platform we had there, I mean, that was literally, we've broken down. I mean, I think starting off any chase where you're chasing over 6 and over and you've brought that down to 5 and over is an incredible start. So they'll be disappointed with the platform. I expect, again, Morgan was adamant before the T20s. He wanted to play his best side every time. I think this series he's going to chop and change. So I expect there to be a few changes for the next game, whether we win or lose this game today. But I think there'll be a bit more concern about the death bowling. Yes, I think Jofra and Chris Wokes will come back in, but there'll be a little bit of concern about how they're going to go about containing people or teams at that last 5 overs.
As far as India are concerned, they might have to wait for a day or so on potential news from the team doctor. We saw some trouble for Shreyas Iyer, trouble for Rohit Sharma as well, and not quite sure how those injuries do develop. But if given a chance, we spoke a little bit about Kuldeep Yadav now, Sanjay. You'd still want to have him play these 3 games, or is it going to be a bit of, Chahal one game, Kuldeep the other, that sort of thing?
Depends on what kind of long-term plans India have for somebody like Kuldeep Yadav. Do they see him as an important force in this format and the T20 format? Then you sort of, stick with him and get him to sort of become what he was before, bad form hit him. But India might be a little concerned about the left-arm spin of Krunal Pandya, so they might want to address that. They can't have 2 spinners down on confidence, and they were both very expensive, so India might want to address that. Batting is not an issue, Ronak. They've got, in fact, exciting options to choose from when it comes to batting replacements.
Yeah, they've got Shubman Gill waiting, Surya Kumar Yadav waiting, Rishabh Pant all waiting. So they'd all be keen to stand one ahead of the other if there is to be a change for that second ODI.
Can I ask Ian Bell a question please about England? Please. Ian, Moeen Ali, where does he see Moeen Ali fitting in the scheme of things, looking at his performance today? And Ben Stokes at number 3, do you think that is likely to change, or that's where England committed to?
No, I think they're committed to that. I think Stokes will bat 3 for this series. Moeen, again, I feel for him again. He's played 1 game in the whole winter. So again, I think he went at 9 and over today in the 3 or 4 overs he bowled, and we saw a glimpse of him with the bat. But again, I hope that he plays all 3 games again and just gets enough cricket under his belt. Again, he's such a talented player, and when he's playing at his best, he's very important to England. And I do believe he should have played a couple of those T20s. So yeah, we've got to find that. So it's going to be important. Hopefully, in the next couple, he will, get to a position where he can bowl his 10 overs, which will be really important, especially, in these conditions on flat pitches.
Okay, that's pretty much a wrap. Official Man of the Match award has gone Shikhar Dhawan's way. So both Shardul Thakur and Krunal Pandya, while they had telling contributions, looks like one of Sanjay's friends in the commentary box, if they still pick these things, have gone the opening batsman's way. Anyway, right. Thank you very much, Sanjay Manjrekar, Ian Bell. We'll be back with the 2 of you on the second ODI in a few days' time. So do join us then on ESPN Cricket for Match Day, powered by Realme X7 5G and X7 Pro 5G. Very eventful first one day to kick off this 3-match series. It starts with India winning it by 66 to take a 1-0 lead. We'll see you on the day of the second ODI.